So I'd love to hear your perspective on this particular clip from Brian Armstrong. So Francis, if you could play it first.
Got the Genius Act passed into law, which actually did enable stablecoin rewards to happen. The banks had their own concerns, and we reached a good outcome in the Genius Act. And now the banks really are coming and trying to undermine the president's crypto agenda. I mean, these are the same banks that debanked him and his family, right? And they want to come in and say that Americans should not be able to actually earn more money on their money. They're trying to protect their own profit margins, taking money out of the pockets of hardworking average Americans and putting it into the coffers of these big banks that are hitting record profits. And so our view is that there should be a level playing field where banks and crypto companies can lean into stablecoin legislation as an opportunity, and that includes paying rewards to Americans so that they can earn.
I can't wait to hear what you guys think about this. Hank, if you go first, what is your initial impression?
Yeah, my initial beat on this is this feels like a turf war over who gets to be the money middleman over the next decade, right? Like we've seen banks basically enjoy this kind of privileged position forever where they hold the deposits, they pay you basically nothing, and then they use that yield to earn, or they use that money to kind of earn yield somewhere else, right? And most people aren't noticing because the system has always kind of been like that. And then you got stable coins and some that can actually pay rewards, kind of shines a flashlight directly on that model. And I don't think banks are going to be too happy to see that because they want to earn this free money and allocate your money wherever else they want to. And I think Armstrong is saying that banks are lobbying to ban stablecoin rewards. But I really think he's just making an accusation that maybe sounds a little dramatic, but the motivation here is very normal, right? And it's protect the margins for the banks. And the political angle here, certainly matters too, because if Trump's administration is pitching itself as being pro-crypto, and you've got big banks quietly kind of trying to clip the wings on stable coins, that's not really a crypto story. We're looking at more of a power story here. So basically, it's like, do we modernize money or do we keep the old toll booths open? So to me, this is all about who's going to get paid for being in the middle in the future. That's my read on it.
I agree with Hank, with what Hank is saying, and I don't often agree with Brian Armstrong, but he's absolutely right. I mean, I agree it's a turf war, and I don't need to earn yield, but people do. People want to hold their money in stablecoins, and they should be allowed to. And I think it's totally nonsense that the banks are coming in and trying to take reign of the regulation. So I'm with Brian 100% on this.
I agree with both of you, but let me try to understand this like a 5-year-old. So the banks pay some yield on your deposits. It's been very little historically or lately. And stable coins, it seemed like weren't going to be able to do that at all. But is Brian Armstrong making a last-minute argument on behalf of consumers that stable coins should also be able to pay out a yield?
That's my understanding.
And then that yield would be a lot more than the banks or just people. And so people would less people would use the deposit products at the banks.
Well, it would create more of a free market, right? People could use whatever they want. Is it the clarity, whatever this specific bill is, it was going to ban crypto companies or any companies from paying a reward on stablecoins. So, I mean, that's not a free market, right? Like,
do either one of you think Brian Armstrong or the side that wants stablecoins to be able to provide yield, it has any chance of winning this late in the game, or is this for show?
Didn't they already kind of establish this in the Genius Act? So wouldn't this be kind of like repealing part of that only months after the fact?
You're right. The Genius Act sort of laid this out, right? That stable coins did not provide yield, that they had to be on U.S. regulated, they had to buy treasuries. And I thought this is why JP Morgan was rolling out the deposit coin. It's a deposit token. That's what they're calling there. So you could, and I think also this goes to fractional reserves. So we have hypothecation. So the deposits, if they use a deposit token, they could provide the yield, and it was going to be no yield on stablecoins, but also then the deposit tokens could still be rehypothecated, whereas it's hard to rehypothecate the stablecoin deposits. And this does but I thought this was settled a while ago. This seems like a major holdup this late in the game, and I kind of like it that they're not. I think anything to slow them down is good.
I agree completely.
And except if I think maybe as an American citizen, and you could say the borders are fake and that's not, but I live here and they could put me in jail. So as an American citizen, don't I want them to roll out our surveillance stablecoin first and benefit from everything that they think will come with that? Maybe I think it's better as a Bitcoiner that they don't go fast and that there's all this lack of clarity and we're not first out of the gate. But I thought they were in a rush. I thought that they'd already agreed on this. I think it's a good argument Brian Armstrong's making. If you look at this from the consumer's perspective, I don't know.
I think slow and steady wins the race on this one, right, guys? I mean, this is not too different from the Bitcoin strategic Bitcoin reserve, and that we're going to be talking about in just a bit. You got to get this right the first time, because we're going to have the world looking at us specifically with the reserve. How is this going to get done? What are the rails that are in place, and how can people copy that going forward? So, I think this is one of those you can't rush, even though I think a lot of us would like answers sooner rather than later.
I'd be blown away if they allow stablecoins at this point to allow yield or provide yield, however they do it. That will change my worldview a little bit about everything that's happening.
I hope they do.
I would really think that because I do think that's a little bit more of a free market, like you were saying. But also, does it further entrap people on better financial surveillance than the deposit tokens would be?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's all going to be surveilled, though. I don't think you're stopping the surveillance state.
Right.
So let's at least do away with the communist banking.
Right. Yeah, I would be blown away if they can do away with the communist banking.
Fight. It's a big fight.
That's interesting. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about the SBR here. Maybe we could play the clip first from the White House.
We've had good engagement from the DCOSP team, which is Stephen Miller's team, that kind of, make sure that all of the executive orders that have been signed by the president, that the agencies are moving out on them, making good progress. The Treasury team, Commerce team is involved. That one it's interesting. It seems straightforward, but then you get into some, obscure legal provisions and why this agency can't do it, but actually this agency could. So we're continuing to push on that. It is certainly still on the priority list right now. And I think with some of the latest, kind of developments and things that we've learned and engagement from general counsels and different agencies, DOJ, OLC, for example, that's kind of the Supreme Court within the administration has provided some good guidance on where we can, move out on this executive order of the president's and do so in a legally sound way. So,
Hank, what do you think? Are the United States government ever going to buy Bitcoin?
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the thing, right? They're taking their time. And I think we had expectations that Trump was going to announce strategic Bitcoin reserve. And all of a sudden, the United States was going to be finding ways, budget neutral or otherwise, to acquire more rather than just the seized and the forfeitures that we currently have, right? But you don't build the runway for planes unless you expect more planes to eventually land there. And kind of as I mentioned previously in the last story, you got to get this right, because the entire world is looking at the United States to likely be the first real power mover to have their own strategic Bitcoin reserve. And we're trying to integrate a new asset class into kind of a legacy financial system that wasn't necessarily built for that. So yeah, it'd be great if we saw this happen sooner than we have so far. But this is something that, again, you got to get right the first time. And they're in a lot of uncharted territories here, and figuring out how to weave Bitcoin into the current financial frameworks is going to take time. So it's taking longer than expected, but this in no way changes my thought that eventually there will be a strategic Bitcoin reserve here in the United States. And I do think at some point we will actively start acquiring it as well.
I think it's all for show. I think we're probably already acquiring. I think whatever this is, whatever's happening, it's just the show. And that we're not going to know for a long time, if ever, exactly how this played out. But if you fast forward 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, the United States will have a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And I don't know that we'll ever know exactly where the Bitcoin came from or sort of what the moving chess pieces were. Because look, if you're doing something this big, are you honest about it? I mean, they're not honest about anything. Why would they be honest about this?
True.
This is interesting. So if the United States government doesn't have Bitcoin through purchases yet, or some sort of acquisition that we don't know about, I would, my line of thinking is they've never revalued the gold.
Yes.
So why would they go buy Bitcoin and have an asset that they don't care if it goes up in price and that they can't sell? So part of me says they'll never buy. But if they've been acquiring all along at different vintages, let's say even going back to 2010, then I could see them being like, yeah, we have 900,000 Bitcoin on our balance sheet and we value them at nothing.
Right.
And we're not going to change that, but we have it now. And we're not going to sell. And so I don't know if they've already been acquiring, that'd be really, and would they ever, if they were acquiring, could they ever reveal themselves as the wallets that we all thought were Satoshis?
Now that one I don't know.
They're,
right.
Acquiring.
I like to think not, but it's certainly a possibility. I mean,
I think it's definitely.
Why do you guys think they would lie about maybe already them being actively acquiring? Is that to gain some kind of additional first mover advantage and literally stacking their bags before they come out and say it, and then the inevitable digital gold rush begins? Like, I'm trying to understand why they would do that.
I think even just what you've laid out for hiding your first mover advantage, and if you see it as a truly important strategic asset, there's always other things going on behind the scenes. You don't necessarily want to lay out your playbook and put all your cards on the table, especially with something that could be, so geopolitically important. We've seen all kinds of stuff happening in China in regards to like Bitcoin being banned. And, I think if Bitcoin is as serious of an asset class as like we all believe it to be, you wouldn't want anyone to know what you were doing.
Yeah. I guess if you found a gold mine, you don't want to tell other people where it is, right?
Yeah.
The only way I think they would not be sneaky about it if there was some sort of multilateral process that's being negotiated right now that they would want to announce a multilateral agreement, like say the G7, and maybe one or two of those nations was allowed to acquire some before, but they maybe agreed no one would get first mover advantage when they move to a new monetary system. But I just don't put my money on that one.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they be acquiring? They've known about this since 2010 when Gavin brought it to them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, you could put out $100,000. They invest in everything in this country that could be interesting. I also think they probably designed and created Bitcoin.
I know you think that.
You think the government did?
My rational, not the part that made me a Bitcoiner, and I hold on to that.
Well, DARPA created the internet, and here we are.
And Facebook.
Right. So.
And probably Netflix.
All of it.
I think they seeded. I think they invest in these things.
They do.
I think that they designed it to be possibly, I'm saying potentially, if I was to, sort of pontificate, I think they designed it to be a heat sink for credit and debt. Mm-hmm. And that they gamed out the problems fiat and the dollar were going to have. And if they can control all the on and off ramps, and they can sort of control and do the best they can to prevent or prohibit self-custody and any sort of financial privacy on that ledger.
Yeah.
This is a great thing for them.
Well,
I think
historically, look at the people that they've really gone after. It's always the proponents of the privacy aspect.
100%.
It's always the people, the libertarians preaching Bitcoin. If you talk about the price of Bitcoin and number go up, you are safe.
Right.
So there's something there.
And the brightest minds in Bitcoin work on tokenizing real world assets and moving the dollar around on layer 2.
Right.
And you just wonder, why aren't they hard? Especially if they were early enough, you'd say they could work on anything they want because it's purely altruistic. I don't know.
Does the fact that that could be the case, but Bitcoin's supposed to be transparent, it's on the blockchain, you can check all of it, but all these things are seemingly happening behind closed doors. Does that kind of go against the whole thing? Maybe it doesn't even matter at this point. Because part of me is worried about maybe Bitcoin being co-opted by big governments. It's hard to say with institutions, but
created. I mean, it's hard not to think they're not trying to co-opt it now.
Yeah,
I'd like to think
absolutely.
that Bitcoin, I'd like to think Bitcoin is invincible, but I think the part of the invincible part is if humans continue to enhance it in the right ways, which is not a guarantee. Just like the internet didn't bring total freedom to the users of the internet. I think increased freedom, but I also think it's starting to tilt where it's dramatically increased the deployment of propaganda and the centralization of information. And they figured out how to sort of tame it and sort of corral it. And they created the internet.
Yeah, they did.
It wasn't a gift from God in that sense.
Yeah. And they were heavily involved, as regulation unfolded through the early 2000s and mid 2000s. And they had offices in all the ISPs. And, why would they not be doing the same
and you can point to well-versed technically, people like Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Ross Ulbricht. None of them were able to avoid detection from the state.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to imagine or fathom someone being able to create something like Bitcoin and actually avoid detection from the state, unless the state pretended to go along with that or protected that person or people. I don't know. That's what my rational brain says.
You're really sucking the romance out of Bitcoin for me here, Cedric. I gotta say.
The most exciting thing is maybe as an American, you'd want your team, as if you're thinking Team America, wouldn't you want America to have been at least said, Gavin brought us this thing, and if we just we owe it to ourselves to follow all technology in the world, and let's partake in the network so we understand it, and let's keep the coins we mint for free here, basically. And then they can seize coins. So if they do decide to catch up, they might have seized the coins from Venezuela. Maybe
what is going on with that?
One rumor I heard was someone from America, one of the 3-letter agencies, helped with the architecture of the custodianship of those coins from the beginning.
So we just have.
So I don't know. And then who knows if Maduro's always been a protected asset?
Right.
You could say the same maybe question about El Salvador. But we've shown, even if they're not friendly or allies or they're doing this for us, that we can take things, including other sovereign nations' Bitcoin, if they don't know how to protect it or if they use Coinbase.
Yes.
Right. So if we're not out ahead, I would think they're either going to buy Bitcoin or continue to confiscate. I'm not necessarily a fan of the confiscation part. I mean, if it's confiscating, and then we should be returning it to the people that suffered an injustice, I would think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. That's definitely the nicer way to do it.
Hank, it's always great catching up with you. I'll leave it to you for any parting words. And let us know where we could find you. I love the show. I come on every 2 weeks. The blockchain.
You do. Yeah. No, it's so great having you. We certainly appreciate it. I'm at Roxham TV. Now I'm at Roxham TV News. I host a show 5 days a week, 10 a.m. Pacific time Mondays, 8 a.m. the rest of the week. It's 2 hours. We have amazing stewards of the space like yourself, Cedric, on all the time, talking Bitcoin and world news and trying to, give people the world through more of a Bitcoin lens. Because as you know, we all see that's kind of the way that things are moving right now. And we're so appreciative of all of the experts we get to have on like yourself. And it was a real treat to getting to come into your house and hang out with you here. So thank you so much for the invite today. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, man. It's always good to see you. Thanks so much. Can't wait.
Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your show. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So you've heard Bitcoin is the new gold rush by now. As world leaders on all sides have endorsed it as the future of money, and now you're looking to get started, we'll show you how. It's actually easier than you think. First, go to your nearest ByteFederal ATM and turn your cash to coin. ByteFederal has over 1,200 locations around the country with the highest daily limits. Go to our website, ByteFederal.com, to find the nearest ATM to you. Log in to any wallet, then create an account, deposit your US cash, and instantly convert it to Bitcoin. That's it. We are the only US manufacturer and operator in the Bitcoin ATM industry, and our US-based live customer service is second to none. Go on, give it a whirl, and don't get left behind. Click the link below.